Hello, and welcome to the Totally Schway podcast, a podcast about the DCAU and whatever the hell I want it to be about. My name is Mary.
I'm Luke.
And today is kind of like our Valentine's Day thing, I guess, or Valentine's Day edition, whatever you want to call it.
By the time this goes out, Valentine's Day will have just gone, but you know, Valentine's Day is not on a Sunday this year, and we only ever release on Sundays, unless there's some other special reason to do it. But I don't think Valentine's Day is special enough. You can't see the look she's giving me now.
Yeah. No, he did very well for Valentine's Day, by the way, in case anybody was wondering. You probably know what he is. So, Luke, do you want to start out with some news or some announcements or anything?
Yeah, so a couple of quick news items. So the first thing, if you like Batman the Animated Series tie-in comic books, it's your lucky day, because DC Comics have announced that in July they are publishing a hardcover omnibus collection of Batman and Robin adventures. This will also include the Batman the Animated Series tie-in comic miniseries, The Lost Years, that talked about what Dick Grayson got up to when he left the Bat family, as well as some other stuff that they haven't announced. I'm thinking it's probably going to be that short story from Adventures in the DC Universe by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, where Poison Ivy robs a yacht that Bruce Wayne happens to be on. So that's really cool. The Batman Adventures omnibus that came out, when did that come out? Well, it was last year, I know that much. That was a great collection. Over 1,000 pages of wonderful Batman animated series tie-in comics. This one is a similar amount. Not quite as long, but very close. I believe they said it was something like 970 pages.
Wow.
So, lots of stuff.
Yeah. It's like some of the books that I read.
Yeah.
They're not just picture books, by the way. I don't just read picture books. No,
I do.
a lot of the stuff that I have been reading recently on my Kindle's been over 1,000 pages. Do I take long breaks in the middle? Yeah. Any other news?
Yeah, so just since our last recording, I've appeared in 2 other channels' videos. I went on Play Content's channel to talk about the best episodes of Justice League Unlimited. Connor very graciously invited me back after I'd been to talk about Superman the Animated Series before, and that was quite nice, so go check that video out if you haven't already. Similarly, I appeared on a Valentine's Day special video for a channel called Lydia Loves Timelines. She was talking about the worst couples in animation history. So Lydia's channel focuses a lot on things like Family Guy and American Dad. And
did she talk about the Cleveland Show?
I think she has talked a little bit about the Cleveland Show, but not an awful lot. She's got another channel where they talk about The Simpsons as well. But for this one, I was one part of this video talking about the Joker and Harley Quinn's awful relationship. So it probably doesn't need plugging from this smaller audience. But if you haven't seen that, go watch it, and maybe you will enjoy Lydia's other content as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Go to Lydia's channel and tell her that she needs to talk about the Cleveland Show more. I'm joking, but not really.
And just wanted to make a brief shout out to the sponsors of this podcast today. It's the lovely people at Manly Bands, who sell a variety of wonderful rings. Mm-hmm. Some of them are based on DC characters, which is why I was drawn to them. In fact, they have offered listeners of this show a 20% discount on their products. Simply head to manlybands.com/Serum Lake. That's my YouTube username, SERUMLAKE, one word. And make sure that Serum Lake is the code that's entered in the discount box in the checkout, and you'll get 20% off any purchase. And it's worth mentioning that they do have a sale on at the moment, and the 20% off code also applies to sale items, so you can make even bigger savings. Thanks again to Manly Bands for being so supportive, and hope you enjoy their products.
And also, you don't have to just be a man to wear them. Women can wear them too.
They do have a selection of ladies' rings as well, yes.
But I really like the Batman-oriented ones, and I would wear them as well. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, husband. It's a great gift, and Luke actually has some of them. And I have to say, one of the best best ones I've seen so far. So yeah, thanks, Man the Bands. So shall we get started?
Yes, okay, so today's topic is, if it wasn't really obvious from the title and maybe the thumbnail, if I've done a good job with it, is we're talking about the DC Animated Universe's couples.
Yeah, and we're going to do a top 3.
Yeah, because last time we did a top 5 each, and it kind of ran really long, and I got some feedback saying that the podcast was too long and they wouldn't listen to all of it. So we're going to try to keep it under an hour. And hopefully be more successful this time. So top 3 couples across the DC Animated Universe. So that's not just Batman, although most of mine will probably be from there. But Superman, Justice League, potentially Static Shock. I can't actually think of many decent couples from that show, to be honest. But that says more about me and my lack of familiarity with Static Shock than it does about the quality of that show. And Batman Beyond.
So, do you want to start today?
Yeah, okay, so in no particular order, I am going to start with the couple that are present in the thumbnail, and that is the Question and Huntress from Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
So I really like this couple because they are definitely an odd pairing. The Huntress is very dark and serious. She's driven by a desire for revenge and violence. She's not afraid of shooting people with crossbows to teach them a lesson. Whereas the Question is a conspiracy theorist. He's an enthusiast of pop music as well. I remember there was an episode of Justice League Unlimited where he's breaking into a facility and he's singing like a catchy pop song to himself while he like smashes a window to climb into the building or something. He's very unusual. Almost a paranoid character. He makes Batman look sane and rational. But the pairing of the two works really nicely, and my favourite interaction between the two is where they're talking over the Justice League communicators or whatever, however they're communicating, not telephones, it's some in-ear piece. And they're talking about the cases they're working on, and Huntress, in the middle of this, just stops and says, "What are you wearing?" You know, to initiate sexy talk. And the Question goes, "Blue overcoat, blue fedora, orange socks."
I love the Question so much. I don't think that he gets talked about enough.
No, he's very good. The voice actor Jeffrey Combs was just great for the role because he has this certain quality to his voice that sounds kind of weird and menacing. It's kind of whispery, raspy,
but oddly comforting.
Yeah, he's a great voice actor, and he played the Scarecrow in the new Batman adventures as well. The zombie Scarecrow design, for those that aren't familiar with it. But yeah, that was my first pick. They seem like a couple that...
My kind of couple.
That just shouldn't work, but they do, and they show obvious affection for each other, like when the Question gets kidnapped by Cadmus and tortured. It's the Huntress that goes and rescues him.
Mm-hmm. She's like, "Not
Superman.
my man.
Yeah.
Not my man." If anybody's going to torture him, it's going to be me.
Yeah. And, you know, when he has to be treated by the Justice League medical staff, she's right there with him the whole time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Great couple.
Yeah. So, I will go with my first one, and it's not in any order, but it kind of is. Yeah, I'll say it's in an order. This is like my number 3 is Terry and Dana.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I like it because it shows young love, but a serious young love. But it also shows that, first off, Terry's not perfect. We all know that.
Yeah.
But it also shows Terry to be not just worried about being Batman, but also he is worried about that relationship. And you can tell, like, he deeply, deeply cares about her, and he worries about her, and he loves her very much. And yeah, I really like it. And the fact that he actually talks about her as you know, the girlfriend is very obvious about it. Whereas some of the characters that are couples in all of these series, sometimes it's just, and you think that they're a couple. You're not 100% sure. And then there's one defining moment, but with their relationship, there isn't a defining moment. Like, from the beginning of Batman Beyond that they are a couple.
Yeah, it's a pre-established relationship, but you can see why they care for each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very good one. Mm-hmm. There have been a couple of times where they temporarily split up as well.
Yeah, but they're always back together.
Yeah. As we see in Justice League Epilogue, because he's about to propose to her.
Mm-hmm. It's also it gives a real touch, because a lot of young couples are together, not together, not together, but really together, but just, waiting for it to flow correctly and whatnot. Another thing I like about the Terry-Dana relationship is you get to know little bits about Dana. It's not just a Nora Freeze thing where she's just there to, for a specific reason. Whereas Dana, you kind of get some of the backstory a little bit, not too much, but she, Terry's character has evolved because of Dana's character. And I like that. So yeah, that was my number 3. What's your number 2?
So my second pick, but in no particular order, I am going to go with Bruce Wayne and Andrea Beaumont. I know it's an obvious one for me because I've talked about Mask of the Phantasm pretty much non-stop since, when did I do that commentary track? Back in August, something like that. But I think that they were an excellent couple.
Yeah.
And the fact that they worked so well together is what made their eventual split just so tragic, and you can see why Andrea was so upset about having to give up her relationship with Bruce and to have her father die as well as a result of this. Mm-hmm. I frequently think of the scene towards the end of Mask of the Phantasm where Andrea Beaumont says, "Look what they did to us. What we could have had. They had to pay."
It's chilling.
It is.
Very chilling.
And she's not saying, "Look, you're dressed up like a bat and I'm dressed up like the Ghost of Christmas Past and we're standing in this rundown theme park like weirdos." Although maybe there is an element of that. Mm-hmm. She's saying, we could have been happy. We could have done anything we wanted with our lives and we're just a wreck.
Yeah. It says a lot about life.
It does. That's why I like it so much. And I've kind of brought a downer to the conversation, so perhaps we should go on to your one, which your next pick, I should say, which will be much more positive and happy.
I think Luke knows the next 2 that I'm going to do, although I don't think he agrees with one of them being an actual couple. But my number 2 is going to be Hawkgirl and Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. I loved their dynamic. Like, they were really great for each other. And I think with these couples and just with the friendships and everything in these TV shows that we love so much, it's great because they're like puzzle pieces. It doesn't matter what type of the relationship it is, whether it's like a boyfriend-girlfriend, girlfriend-girlfriend, best friends type thing. They're all little puzzle pieces that create this bigger jigsaw, this big, 1,000 million piece jigsaw puzzle. And I really like that. And with Shayera and John, it really showed, kind of like that forbidden love type thing. Because, they didn't actually get where they wanted to in the end. Because of obviously Shayera's past, literally coming in and saying, "Oh, hey," and it sucked. There's no other way to say that. It sucked, but it was real. It felt real because you can somehow you can still tell that they do still care about each other.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Mm-hmm. And I obviously misspoke when I said I was going to hand to you for a more positive relationship, because now we've just talked about another forbidden love.
Yeah, but I think that's a lot of what I like about the DCAU is you have relationships like with an alien, with a human. You have interracial relationships. You have so many different types of relationships. And it goes to show that even though this is quote unquote a cartoon, it still talks about real things. Yeah, so I love the fact that the DCAU really did not care that they had people of color characters, you know, dating other people of, you know, POC characters, but also dating white characters or, you know, aliens or anything like that.
Or bird ladies.
Yeah. I really just loved that they were unashamed of that. And it shows that the generation that, you know, these animated series raised, a lot of that generation is much like the show. I'm in love with you, but I'm blind to what you look like. I am blind to the color of your skin. I'm blind to where you're from. I just love you. And I really, in a way, I have to thank them because, especially where I grew up in Oklahoma, it's the particular place. It's not as cultured as other places. So a lot of the culture that we got from TV or movies. And this just really is, it was just great. And, you know, I have to thank the creators, the animators, the writers, the, you know, Cartoon Network, WB, for showing my generation and you know, showing them how life is supposed to be. Not how, you know, we saw life sometimes, where you did have that forbidden love just because you weren't blind to the color of someone's skin or their orientation or whatever. And I absolutely love that. So my number 2 was Hot Girl in Green Lantern.
Yeah, and you know, there was almost like a love triangle element in the later part of Justice League Unlimited when they introduced Vixen.
I love Vixen.
But I actually liked the interplay between Vixen and Hawkgirl, because, you know, they were kind of eyeing each other up as competition, but they weren't like unpleasant about it.
No, they actually, like, that relationship there was like a friendship that was like, okay, we want the same person, but I'm not really going to step on your toes too much.
Yeah, I mean, by that point, I don't know if Hawkgirl actually wanted to be with John that much. It was more Vixen wanted to be with John, and John wanted to be with Vixen. But at the same time, he also missed Shiera.
Yeah.
And so Vixen was like, look, I know he wants to be with you, but he's with me now. And he also wants to be with me.
Yeah, it was a respect thing as well.
Yeah,
although you could see kind of like a
little tension. You
could see there was still respect. And it was an adult thing, an adult situation. And it showed that adults can want the same thing, but sometimes we can't have that, but we have to respect others that do. Whether that's a man or a Tamagotchi. So what is your number 1 couple?
Well, I don't know if this is necessarily my number 1 couple, because there are so many to pick from, particularly in Batman the Animated Series. There's, you know, you mentioned Victor and Nora Freeze. They could be a pick, even though I don't think they do enough to showcase Nora, frankly, for that to be
But that relationship... Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that relationship was a pivotal part of the show. So it is an important relationship.
Yeah, it is. I think my top pick then is going to be Harvey Dent and Grace Lamont.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because so Harvey Dent is interesting because it seems like every time we see him, he's got a new girlfriend. He's trying to fill a hole inside of himself with the love of someone else. And he's very quick to fall in love. Like, he talks in Pretty Poison, like he's been dating Pamela Isley for a little while, and he's already talking about proposing to her because he just wants to settle down. Obviously, Poison Ivy is trying to kill him.
Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. No proposal needed.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. But then when we next see him with Grace, I don't recall them ever saying how long they've been dating, but it seems like it's been a bit longer than his encounters with Pamela Isley.
Did they not say how long?
No, I don't think so.
I think you're right. Obviously, you're going to be right because you've seen it a lot more than I have. No, I think you're right. I don't think that they said how long.
Yeah, but they did say that he was going to announce their engagement if he won the election, or when he wins the election, he would announce the engagement, the date for the engagement, or the date for the wedding, excuse me. So, yeah, and they're a very positive and supporting couple. Like, even in the 90s, there was a lot of stigma. I mean, even prior to the 90s, I should say. Even recently, actually, there is still stigma around mental health. And Grace is very well aware of Harvey's struggles. She may not be aware of the cause of them, but she knows that he has problems with his temper and getting stressed out. And she encourages him to get help, psychological help, and she supports him. She doesn't think any less of him for it. Mm-hmm. And obviously Harvey's he trusts her with that information. He didn't even tell his best friend Bruce that he was seeing a psychotherapist. Grace blurts it out, and he gets quite embarrassed by this. He looks at it, he's like, Grace, come on, shut up. But, obviously, Batman being the person that he is with his own struggles, he's very supportive as well. And he says, it takes a strong person to admit when they need help.
Yeah.
And even after Harvey Dent's disfigurement, when Grace first sees him, she faints. That's not great for his self-image. Mm-hmm. But even then, even despite what's happened to him and all the things he goes on to do as Two-Face, Grace does still love him, and she sits by the phone all evening because she's certain he's going to call one day. He's going to call one day, and she's got to be there to answer the phone when he does call. And yeah, she's right, one day he does call. And when she's taken to his base of operations in the Wild Deuces Club? Can't remember exactly. It's a 2-themed nightclub, rundown nightclub. And he's got this Phantom of the Opera style mask covering his disfigurement, and she tells him that he doesn't need that. He should take it off. She needs to see the real him, and she loves him and cares for him anyway. And it's a shame that we didn't really see more of Grace in the show, but she did feature in the first and second issue of Batman and Robin Adventures, which is in that omnibus collection, by the way, that I mentioned earlier on. In a story written by Paul Dini called Two-Timer, I think it was called, where the Joker tricks Two-Face into believing that Bruce Wayne and Grace are going to run off together, because obviously Two-Face is in Arkham Asylum getting treatment, and he is making progress. He is starting to get better. And to solve his boredom, the Joker decides to play some tricks. And he orchestrates some events that make it seem like Bruce and Grace are in a romantic relationship to set back Harvey Dent and bring back Two-Face. And that is exactly what happens. And it's at that point that he breaks out of Arkham and he kidnaps Grace and Bruce. He's going to kill Bruce and reclaim Grace, because, that's exactly how it works, right? Mm-hmm. As a woman, Mary, if someone came along and killed me, you'd just go off with them, right? That's how it works, isn't it?
I have a knife. So I am one of those women that my stepdaddy, he taught me how to do that. And also, all I have to do is just talk. And then eventually they'll just be like, nah. We're gonna take you safely back home. Yeah. I'm like, well, actually, did you know how Saturn, how the rings around Saturn happen? Because I do. Let me tell you. And then 3 hours later, I've just touched the tip of the iceberg. I'm like, yeah. But the answer is, I'd entertain it. I'd entertain it just so I could show them pain.
I see.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I kind of lost track of what I was saying, frankly. Anyway, at the end of the story, when the scheme is foiled and Two-Face realizes that he was tricked, that Grace wasn't really leaving him, Grace leaves him. She slaps him in the face and walks away crying. And yeah. That was basically the end of their relationship. I mean, Grace did appear one more time later on where a gangster was trying to get Two-Face to do his bidding, and he threatened to harm Grace. And there's a really cool scene from the comic where Two-Face has managed to escape them, and the first thing he does, he runs to a payphone to call Grace. He hasn't got any change on him, so he puts his silver dollar in there to call her, and he spends it to call her and warn her. And then he smashes up the payphone and takes his coin back.
Obviously.
But still, I thought
He could
it
have
was...
called collect, but you know.
Well, he didn't have time. It was like, quick, just take the money.
Yeah.
Do payphones take silver dollars?
No.
No. Well, okay. Let's not let that ruin. Let's not let that ruin a beautiful story.
Yeah, it's a beautiful notion.
Yeah. And Bruce Timm did a follow-up story in Batman Black and White called Two of a Kind, where Two-Face, his next relationship is with his plastic surgeon / therapist, who has an evil twin sister. And he gets his face repaired. Harvey Dent gets his face repaired, and he has this relationship with Marilyn. I forget her surname. I want to say Marilyn Pryor, but that's Madeline Pryor from X-Men. And then he has an affair with Madeline, the wicked sister, and she, out of jealousy, murders the good sister, and that sets off Harvey Dent back down the dark, awful path and brings Two-Face back. And there's a wonderfully sad moment at the end where Two-Face kisses Madeline and then shoots her, and it's very obvious that Two-Face did not want to come back. He was quite happy to fade away and let Harvey Dent get on with his life, but unfortunately he was kind of dragged back into the public. And yeah, I don't think Harvey Dent ever got better. We probably didn't. We never know. So I have been talking for a long time, and pretty much all of these relationships I've talked about have either been dysfunctional or depressing. So I hope your last pick, Mary, is something that is a bit more lighthearted and fitting.
I think it is. So my number one couple, because I just freaking love them, Clark Kent and Lois Lane. I just find that relationship adorable. Even though Luke says that it's technically didn't start until the last episode, maybe they just weren't telling people.
Maybe they weren't. Now, Lois Lane very clearly is affectionate towards Clark Kent throughout the whole series. And she doesn't know that Clark Kent and Superman are the same person. I should clarify that she kisses Superman in the last episode. Big smile on Mary's face. And I suppose you could say that just because they hadn't kissed, it didn't mean they didn't have a relationship.
Yeah. Because a lot of couples, like wholesome couples, I should say, don't like PDA. But I just really like their relationship because it's lovely to see a nice, happy-go-lucky group of friends that have two people that come together to maybe have a relationship. And I saved it to talk about for last because I kind of suspected that. I mean, it's hard not to talk about some of the doom and gloom with the relationships in the DCAU, because a lot of it comes from, I think it's come from real relationships, these stories, and they've just, bits and pieces of it have been popped into the show. And unfortunately, sometimes relationships are just not very good. But with this one, I love them so much, and it's so cute. And the voice actors, Tim Daly and Dana Delaney.
Dana Delaney again.
Yeah, I just feel that there should have been a Lois and Clark animated TV show.
I'm glad you said animated.
Yes. We don't talk about the non-animated one with the other housewife. But I wish they would have done just a Daily Planet show to show their relationship and some of the other characters. I mean, if y'all want that idea, WB, you can have it. Like I said before, I am available for employment if you want. I do have a job, but 2 weeks notice. I'm joking, but I think those two voice actors were just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant together, and they had so much chemistry, and you could tell that. I bet you if those two walked into a room, they would probably just give each other bear hugs.
Probably.
Because it was that charisma that they had with each other. It was so beautiful, and it makes you want to root for this couple. And yes, you might not see them, actually having the relationship notions and whatnot, but you can tell. If you're like me, you can tell. And it's nice to have that break in like doom and gloom, because I know Superman can be seen as more of the happy-go-lucky cartoon of them all, but they still have like all of this doom and gloom in the show. And then with the relationships, like with the Kents, with Lois and Clark, with all of their friends and stuff like that, it is just a really lovely, it makes your heart feel good.
Sorry to bring in some doom and gloom.
I knew it.
No, but in I think it's Justice League Hereafter, the two-parter where Superman gets air quote killed during the funeral. It's interesting to note that a lot of the heroes that are there surround Lois, who is obviously right at the front and centre, weeping at Superman's death. And it's like they know that she's his girlfriend. And when Lex Luthor comes in, and there's Dana Delaney again giving a wonderful performance, like going, "How dare you come here? How dare you?" And she slaps him, or she goes to slap him, I think. And Clancy Brown is another excellent voice actor.
Oh, Clancy Brown.
He's wonderful. He says, "I know, I'm going to miss him too." And you can hear his voice breaking. Like he's genuinely upset that Superman has been killed.
Yeah.
I love that episode so much. I think it's probably my favourite episode of... I think it was Justice League, or was it Justice League Unlimited? I'm getting confused now.
We're going to be watching, I think we've mentioned it before, we're going to be, when we have time together, we're going to rewatch Superman and stuff. And I'm sure it's just going to end up being like, what we always tend to do is like, we're going to end up watching Justice League over again. Because I love it so much. I can't not love it. Like, it's one of those shows that I could put on and I could just be looking on my phone or doing something else. But I always end up putting my phone down and just watching it. It just like chilling out. I'll chill out for about 5 minutes and then I'll start to like cry or something. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah.
Yeah.
So those were our favorite couples.
Yeah, so I'm sure we've missed off some. I bet there's going to be someone who's going to chime in and say, "Hey, what about Static Sister," I think her name was Sharon, and Rubber Band Man? What about them? Excellent point. Please sound off about them in the comments. Yeah. And any others we've missed that you feel very strongly about, go for it. I
might watch Static Shock soon. I'm not sure. It seems like more of a summer show. I don't know why.
I don't know. I guess it's because it's kind of bright and light and it's a high energy show.
Yeah. But I might watch that soon because I've got some time coming up.
Yeah.
So should we get to some comments and some questions?
Yes, okay. So let's go over to the comments from last time. We got quite a lot of them, so I'm going to try to...
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's not for the DCAU, but I do have a question. Did you finish Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League?
Yes, I did.
Good. I knew that because I also finished it with him as well.
And it's funny that actually the first comment is talking about Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
It's almost like you planned it.
I did not plan that.
So the Phantasm, Aris, he says, I think one of the issues with the Suicide Squad game is the fact that it's set in the Arkhamverse. Mild spoilers for Batman's fate in the game. I'll have to skip over those. Got to skip over that. Mm-hmm. I know some people try to use Kevin Conroy's passing to justify their hate for the game, but it's so wrong. No one knew this could be one of Kevin's last performances, and Kevin clearly knew what he was signing up for, and it's apparent that he had a lot of fun playing evil Batman. Kevin's death aside, it didn't feel satisfying after you killed the Justice League members, and the ending feels abrupt and kind of unfulfilling as a whole. Also, Brainiac, spoilers... this is also kind of a spoiler, but I think this one's okay to say because I think people know by now. I was really glad to see Wally Wingert back as the Riddler and Nolan North as the Penguin. Since the first time I heard it, I've never been able to hear anyone else's voice as Riddler other than Wally Wingert when I read the comics. Okay, so moving on to the next comment.
Sorry.
Play content. Hello, Connor.
Hey.
Another excellent podcast, or should I say totally Schway podcast? I shouldn't. Yeah. You should always say that. Say it every time.
#totally Schway.
I'm always glad to see praise for Growing Pains, a major TNBA highlight. Thanks for the mention and appearing to take part in Superman the Animated Series. Something I've always thought regarding fair DCAU ladies is that Zatanna being a founding Justice League member could have been interesting. I've got nothing against Shayera. I just feel like she's, broadly speaking, quite similar to Wonder Woman sometimes. Zatanna could bring some variation. Also, you probably know this already, but there's been an on-again, off-again news of an animated Super Ted reboot. Also, you remembered right, I occasionally revisit Hey Arnold episodes. It's a good show. We're nodding in agreement at each other.
Sometimes I forget this isn't like video. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Okay, so next comment comes from The Honoured One. We're honoured with your presence, The Honoured One.
Yes, we are.
Who says, I feel bad for peeps whose first crush wasn't DCAU Wonder Woman.
She wasn't my crush, but I did really like her. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, next comment from Mark Addo. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
And he says, Vixen, Supergirl, Fire Ice, Max Gibson, Babs Gordon and Black Canary. All amazing, all super, all unique. Those are his picks for the ladies. Mm-hmm. Lowell Lucas Jr. says, hello, thank you for returning. Talk about iconic. The women of the DCAU are just as important, if not arguably as important as the men. Whether it be in motives like Mr. Free's beloved wife Nora getting a cure, to the wacky hijinks tragedy of Harley Quinn, or notably the mysteriousness of the Phantasm/Talia or Ace. These ever-growing characters have been used with super provocative narratives that makes the universe always worth revisiting time and time again. Their use isn't always as damsels as they poke, scratch and literally zap those expectations to the ground. Indeed, they are women. Hear them roar and soar into the sky. We're nodding again.
Word.
Zehanaut10 returns. Hello, Zehanaut.
Hey, Zehanaut.
Says that current Harley Quinn looks like she robbed a Hot Topic.
Yes! I agree with you. I just feel like it's more realistic uniform, but we're talking about a man that dresses up like a bat, a woman that dresses up like a clown, and a man that has green hair and that goes around being the clown prince. Do we have to be that realistic?
So the Phantasm has returned. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to read both of your extra comments this time, Aris, but I think going forward we'll just read one comment from each person just to make sure that we actually don't overrun on time. Because I know some people get really mad when the episodes are too long.
And our cat Gilly waits outside of the room and he's like, hello? Oh, hurrah!
Yeah. So, okay, so the other comments were, I only mentioned afterwards, but I would like to mention Ink as an honorary mention to my list in the previous video. So that was on the ladies of the DCAU. Mm-hmm. So Ink's a good pick. Also wanted to say hello again to Mary, because in the last video, Luke had to re-record the responses to the comments. Yes, it's true.
Oh, hello again.
Relationships in comic books have always been something I think have had way more misses than successes. But since that's the topic of the video you guys are doing now, here are my favourites in the DCAU, and thankfully some of them are also my favourite in comics as well. Number 1, Superman and Lois Lane. Again, I would have loved if Lois had found out Clark is Superman, but they were still great. Number 2, Green Arrow and Black Canary. I mean, what can I say? They're just all around great. I love how Oliver's expectations were completely subverted when Dinah beat him in a fight with ease. He knows that she's the one in charge, and I love that dynamic. Ultimately, they make each other's lives better. They have had many ups and downs in the comics, but ultimately their dynamic is just too fun. I'm a little behind on Joshua Williamson's Green Arrow run, and I wanted to ask you, Luke, if you had kept up with it, and if so, what your thoughts are. Yes, I have been reading it through the DC Universe Unlimited app, and yeah, it's fine. I find the idea of Green Arrow being propelled through time, because if he and his family spend any time together, that it will lead to the end of the world, just a bit preposterous, but I'm sure I'll stick with it, and I'm sure all will be properly explained. Next, Question and the Huntress. One of my picks. There we go. Like Black Canary and Green Arrow, what else can I say about them that you don't already love? Man, Jeffrey Combs has such range. He's awesome as Scarecrow. He's awesome as Question. He's also awesome as Brainiac in Injustice 2. There's an amazing video by the channel Implicitly Pretentious about Huntress and Question. He does a great job of breaking down lots of characters from DC animation. Cool. Big Barda and Mr. Miracle. Scott and Barda have given each other a level of trust seldom seen in comics. Definitely wish we had seen more of them during the Justice League Unlimited period. Green Lantern and Hawkgirl at number 5 probably wouldn't work in the mainline comics, especially considering that there are multiple versions of Hawkgirl simultaneously, but Phil Lamar and Maria Canales Barrera just sell that relationship with immense chemistry. Both characters clearly hardened by battle, with John when he was serving in the Marine Corps, and clearly more and Shayera in the Thanagarian army against the Gordanians. Yet despite their trauma, they still found a way to make each other happy and see the best in themselves during their time together in the League. 6. This one is the one I wish had gotten more screen time the most, which is Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon. Yes, I've always known that when Barbara was first introduced in both the Adam West show and the comics, she was more of a peer for Bruce Wayne, but that doesn't automatically really give them a fun or interesting dynamic, and that's also not the case for Barbara in the DCAU. Regardless if she was the one pursuing him, which again not a fan of, although better I guess than the alternative, but that's not high praise. A brief glimpse we saw Barbara and Dick interacting, especially in the Sub-Zero film and TMBA, really sold their dynamic and chemistry, which I wish we had gotten in better circumstances. I'm at least really glad to see how great their relationship together is written now in the comics, and the way Tom Taylor writes them together is just excellent. Sorry for people who prefer Dick with Corey. I think that has its place in time, but for me, Barbara is Dick's end goal. The only honourable mention for me, it technically wasn't a relationship, but it's too noteworthy to mention. It's Batman and Wonder Woman in the DCAU. It's something that I think doesn't entirely work in the mainline comics, and part of that is the fact that DCAU, Kevin Conroy and Susan Eisenberg just have unmatched chemistry. I have always been of the belief that Batman's love life has always been the least interesting thing about him as a character, with very rare instances, and even then it's short-lived. In the DCAU, if there was any relationship with Batman I would be interested in, it's definitely with Wonder Woman. There are other relationships he's had, with the most notable one being Andrea Beaumont, but the point of that relationship is that it ends with tragedy. His relationship with Talia in the DCAU was fun too. Just to clarify though, had they officially been in a relationship in the DCAU, he definitely would have been my favourite. This is the only one I will mention that's not part of the DCAU, despite the podcast being focused on it, and that's John Constantine and Zatanna in the DCAMU, because I just enjoy them together that much. Now, while I thought the continuity of the DC animated films was overall rather uninteresting, very few films that genuinely loved, aside from the Flashpoint movie, were Justice League Dark and Constantine's City of Demons. Really just Zatanna and John's back and forth never fails to put a smile on my face, and was one of the original concepts of the New 52 line, as controversial as the New 52 was, and I found to be incredible. Really just Matt Ryan as John Constantine. I always felt he was one of the best castings for a comic book character of all times, and every time he speaks, for me, it feels like the character has just leapt off the pages. Yeah, Mary doesn't have a strong opinion about the comic books.
No. I am, as I've mentioned in the past, I haven't read a lot of the comics, so I can't really give a good opinion about it. But I'll take your word for it.
Yep. Next comment, we have David BTAS. Hello, David. Channel member. He's got a green bat icon next to his profile, indicating he's been one of my people for, 2 months now, I think?
Oh, I need to mention something that's coming out soon. That YouTube, if you have premium, you can get a free 1-month membership to a channel that has memberships. That's rolling out quite soon, so that's something to think about.
Thank you, Mary. Maybe I'll add that to my advert. So David says, hello.
Hola.
First, I would like to say thank you for the shout-out in episode 11 of Totally Schway. I just recently got caught up on the Totally Schway episodes, hence the belated thank you. Anyhow, did you notice in the episode Eternal Youth, the outfit Alfred wore on the way to the Eternal Youth Spa with Maggie is very similar to the Ghostbusters outfit? I mean, just add a proton pack and a name tag and Alfred would be an official Ghostbusters member. Maybe Alfred has a side hustle as a Ghostbuster. Thank you for reading my comments, and I'm happy we share the same opinions on the books, The Man Who Watched Batman and Batman the Animated Series, I mentioned in the previous Totally Schway episode. Keep up the great work. Thank you, David. It's very kind of you to say.
Thank you, David.
I think it is probably no coincidence, because Kevin Altieri, who directed the episode, and Brad Rader, who storyboarded that section, and I think he did some of the character designs with Mike Goguen, they both worked on the real Ghostbusters cartoon, so it's probably not too surprising that you can see some similarities with the Ghostbusters. Moving on, we have David Carney returns. Hello, David. Hope you're doing well. That was 2 Davids in a row. Hopefully no one's getting confused.
D&D.
DC and DH. Anyway, I really enjoyed Kevin Conroy voicing an evil Batman. Would love to have heard him voice the Batman who laughs in a video game or animation. I felt Brainiac was the wrong villain when they could have adapted Batman Beyond with future Justice League and Superman being possessed by Starro. Keep up the great work. Yeah, I would love a Batman Beyond game. I feel like the time is now. The time is now.
Yeah, I would like that too. It has to be like the Arkham games, though.
Mm-hmm. Just the way that Deadshot controls in Suicide Squad with the jetpack. Imagine that with Batman's rocket boots.
Yeah, with Terry.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, so we have Michael Andre Palon.
Big Mikey P.
Oh ho, nice seeing the Justice League Unlimited tie-in comics issue 20 being the thumbnail. Yes, I thought you'd appreciate that. Bruce Timm getting out of hibernation makes him sound like a bear or a gargoyle. Anyway, never trusted IGN ever since they put one of their shields on Mass Effect 3. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Thanks for piquing my interests to this play content channel, guys. We'll check it out when I have the time. Same with Steve M and Disturbin. Well, I hope you enjoy those videos, and make sure if you leave comments on there, tell them I sent you. Not that Steve M or Disturbin knows who I am, but, it might be funny. I don't know. Surprised you didn't talk about Maxine Gibson's over-hated, scrappy status on the fandom. Anyway, can agree that she makes a fine Oracle, but she never should be a Batgirl Beyond in the coming years, pre- and post-epilogue. I agree. There's also the fact that DCAU Wonder Woman kicks more on-screen butt than the male Justice League members, arguably speaking. Mm-hmm. That's true. She's very good at kicking and punching butt. However, that sounded wrong. However, I do think there are far more effective women empowerment animated characters like her, like Utena Tenju, Sakura Kinomoto, and Kimberly Ann possible. Well, they're not DCAU characters, so as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist.
And Wonder Woman is the woman, okay? That's my opinion.
I'm A-OK with Batman and Wonder Woman. Alas, Batman Beyond lore must always be paramount, so sorry not sorry fanfics. I really wonder what happened to Isis come Chase Me Onward, since I'm of the headcanon that the short film is how the Catwoman had her last heist before being put in a more maximum than maximum prison system. You give a shout out to Frank Welker's Animal Sounds, I do the same with D. Bradley Baker's. If only Mercy was still able to utilise her bodyguard skills in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, what with TV tropes describing her there as as an example of chickification. Okay. On a non-DCAU side note, shame the Batman Harley doesn't get much screen time. Same with Batman Brave and the Bold Harley to a lesser extent. The red and black theme for Harley can get tiresome to her non-DCAU iterations. I'm actually one of those people who feel like her nurse-like Arkham Asylum look is quite unique and suiting. I also have a soft spot for Harlequinade and Harley's Holiday. Also, the point 33 minutes and 30 seconds into the podcast can easily relate to Lord of the Rings fans. I wish I knew what he was referring to. I should have just clicked on it. One word that flawlessly describes the irredeemability of Clayface and the futility of Annie. Murder. Gotta love how Growing Pains can work as a sequel to not only Mudslide, but also the presumably canon Sega CD cutscenes of The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Oh yeah, Francesca Marie Smith also voiced Ashley B from Recess. Right, even I was surprised on finding out that Maria Canales is also in The Wizards of Waverly Place. Granted, not a huge fan of Disney live-action television at most then, and especially now. I'm of the opinion that the second coming of Grundy should have been one hit that put him down. I can at least recommend the Barbie Life in the Dreamhouse web series to you, Mary. Also, for good animated shows with not much happy endings, there's Reboot, Beast Wars, Transformers, Mighty Max, and Exo Squad. I was expecting Maggie Sawyer, Dan Turpin's loyal partner plus confidant in the Metropolis SCU, and other quite notable for having what is essentially an on-screen lesbian relationship with Toby Raines, just like her comic book iteration back then and possibly even now in Superman the Animated Series episode Apocalypse Now.
I like that.
DCAU's Supergirl home is Argo. Also, the Inzi bit of her name may grow on you. And am unfortunately not a fan of the midriff bearing outfit. I'm torn on whether her white outfit in Estas or the blue one in JLU is better though. I'd instead argue that Andrea Beaumont spurning away Bruce's love for her changed how things went in the DCAU entirely. Andrea moving on from her Phantasm role may have been nice, but really am of the opinion that the legacy canon we got is more paramount than even a positive, subtle ending via outdated word by St. Paul. I don't know what that means. I'd rather be Amanda Waller than Lois Lane. There's just something about unsanctioned yet all too justified covert experimental and ultra manipulative ops on a desk job, or so that feels romantically epic to me, and there's just something about honest to God journalism that ticks me off in contrast. And hey-oh, I want to see some blue fan service. Isn't Childs, voiced by the good old Keith David no less from John Carpenter's The Thing, already compromised as one of the dreaded assimilators? By way of drinking what is essentially a bottle of fuel. No need to give accents to Wonder Woman in case the voice actor isn't legitimately Greek or something close. Such things can be an insensitive chore to do, especially with Eastern Europeans and Asians in mind. Painfully offbeat to say this, but I'm still hugely shocked and disillusioned on Tara Strong's comments against the struggling Palestine in recent months as of this writing. Not even J.K. Rowling being anti-trans was this hurtful in my perspective. Also, Constantine for me, pronouncing John Constantine's name. Gonna easily doubt Bob Goodman. Guy's great and all, but not exactly flawless due to his roughshod creation, the Zeta Project. I always forget that Batman Beyond's Tim Drake is also Owl from the original Quantum Leap. Melissa Joan Hart also played Saturn Girl in Superman the Animated Series New Kids in Town, by the way. Comparing Arlene Sorkin's Harley Quinn with Sean Connery's James Bond seems surprisingly fitting. Naming Kuzco from The Emperor's New Groove as a great Disney princess in all but name kind of brings to mind people preferring Joker 2019 and Mobile Suit Gundam Seed when they were called The King of Comedy by Martin Scorsese and Metal Armor Dragonar, respectively. Yes, the Batman Arkham games can be deemed a quadrilogy. Mic drop. Boom. That's it. That's Mikey P's comment over with. Okay. Next, we have RDP16 Rules. Hello again.
Hey, RDP.
And he says, hello, Mary and Luke.
Hello.
First, I'd like to talk about my favourite women of the DCAU. In no particular order, my favourites include Wonder Woman, Catwoman, Batgirl, Zatanna, Hawkgirl, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Talia al Ghul, Lois Lane, and Huntress. Honourable mentions to Supergirl, Livewire, and Dr. Leslie Tompkins. Bruce Timm is a genius of character design, as every person he designs reflects the major aspects he wants to emphasise. His men are strong, stern and handsome, or haunting and disturbing, and everything in between. His women, however, I'm not sure he knows how to design an unattractive adult female character. There are so many great things to talk about with each of your character picks. In all honesty, each one could easily get a video essay to expand on those thoughts and opinions. I know that Mary's working hard to make a wonderful character study for Baby Doll, but if she ever decides to make another video, all 5 of her choices would be prime candidates as she's so passionate about all of them. That said, I want to hone in on a few talking points. We all have a lot of movies and TV shows to catch up on. That's a wild state of modern media consumption. But I cannot recommend Hey Arnold enough. I have the box set series, which has been loaned out to various family members and friends over the years. That show is an excellent blend of comedy, drama, good messages, and jazz music.
Oh, I love jazz music. No, I don't know where that voice came from. Like, I love jazz music. No, I really do like jazz.
Helga, the character you mentioned, was an epic will they, won't they with Arnold that does get resolved, but only if you stick with the show the whole way through. Plus, their first Christmas special is a happy one, but is just as sad as the Seymour episode of Futurama. You know the one.
I have to say this. I don't.
No, she doesn't watch Futurama. But I do. I know what you're talking about. Speaking of Maria Barrera Canales, I love seeing a Latina take such a prominent role in a major superhero series. It's common now, but it was such a great choice from casting. Hawkgirl is tough but tender, fierce but funny, and as fiery as any Latina I know. Better yet, I kind of feel like Hawkgirl helped land the role of the mom in Wizards of Waverly Place. From fighter to mother, she handles her roles with ease. What a wonderful actress. On the topic of Harley Quinn, I think she can change up her looks as often as she wants. Unlike the Joker, Harley freely chooses to mix up her look all of the time, and that kind of fits her as a character. Of course, the iconic red and black outfit has a place in my heart, but I like the red and blue and the blue and pink. I even like the purple and green variant introduced in Injustice 2. By the way, for anyone who really has opinions on her outfits, Comic Pop has an hour-long discussion and ranking of most of her wardrobe. Good stuff.
Hey, listen here. She can dress exactly how she wants to.
Yep.
Am I going to like it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But here's the thing. I am a leggings and like plaid t-shirt girl, okay? Or a hoodie. I'm pretty sure she's got more style in her pinky than I do. So yeah. But yes, the red and black outfit, my favorites.
Finally, let's wrap things up with some hashtag Totally Schway podcast questions. So first question, Mary. There are lots of opinions on the topic, but what do you think is the best age range between Batman and Superman? Personally, I think Batman is older, but only by a margin of 5 years or less. What do you think?
I had always assumed that Superman was a bit younger because I don't know, it might just be because of how Tim Daly, was. But yeah, maybe I think Batman's like mid-30s, and I think Superman is just gone 30 or maybe 32.
I can agree with that. I think, I feel like Batman is probably a little bit older, but not much older.
Yeah, not too much. But I think in spirit, he's definitely an 85-year-old man.
Next and final hashtag Totally Schway question. What's your favourite Bat vehicle? He has so many good choices. I love the Bat mechas, but if those don't count for some reason, I have to pick the Bat boat. It has limited uses, but that's kind of why I like it. It's a treat to see. Also, the BTAS Batmobile is my overall favourite one, followed by Keaton's, Kilmer's, Pattinson's and Affleck's. Anyway, thanks again for all that you two do. Have a lovely day. So to answer your question, my favourite Bat vehicle is obviously the BTAS original Batmobile.
Word.
Close second place is the Batwing from BTAS. I often have heated conversations with Kevin Altieri about the Batwing because he hates it. He really hates it. He keeps calling it a stupid flying saucer. He is a big aficionado for aviation history, and he finds the functionality of the Batwing to be preposterous, and it really annoys him. And I just say, well, I love it. I think it's wonderful. And he agrees it's a great design, but it's the functionality of it that annoys him.
I think my favorite vehicles are the BTAS Batmobile and the Batman Beyond Batman suit. I think that's a vehicle in itself.
I mean, I suppose so. It gets him from A to B.
It's got rockets on its feet.
It's very true. I'd never thought of it that way. So Terry McGinnis's Batsuit is one of the best vehicles.
It really is, though.
Or at least his shoes are.
You know what? I'm going to say the whole outfit.
Well, the shoes are integrated into the outfit. So you're right.
Yeah, but mainly the shoes.
Okay, new commenter, or at least a name I don't remember. Apologise if you've been here before, but it's Matthew Rasco. He says, not going to lie, Volcana, Livewire and Killer Frost are very good villainesses that don't get enough love from the DCAU fandom. Mary doesn't like Livewire.
The other two, great, awesome, wonderful. I don't know. I really don't know why I just get annoyed with Livewire.
I'd rather see more stories with them instead of more Harley material. The Jester had way too much spotlight in place of the other female villains. It's fair enough. We all like different things.
Yeah, that's all right. But, I mean, I want to know why I don't like Livewire, but I don't.
She is kind of obnoxious.
But so am I.
Okay, next comment, Screen Wiper. Hello,
Hey,
Screen Wiper. It made me very happy and proud of Blue and her pack that Mary enjoyed her photos so much.
Yes!
Feel free to put some photos in a video if you think the audience would like to see her or her friends too.
Oh, there's our permission there.
Yeah, I know, I told you. It's okay. All 4 current hens in the pack are doing well. So Now is the moment where we will put up some pictures of Blue the hen and any of the others. Okay, next we have Captain Al says, hello Captain Al, nice of you to return. After your dramatic reading of my comment, I think I really have been spoiled. So glad I gave Mary a good laugh. You certainly gave me a few good ones this episode, and I hope you enjoy the movie. We haven't actually watched it yet. I've been so busy the last couple of weeks. Emperor's New Groove. Mm-hmm. We said we would watch it because like 5 people said, no, you need to watch it. It's really good.
Do you want to know something really funny about that? Is I have been getting like ads for like Emperor's New Groove, like backpacks and things like that on everything that I like. If I'm just going on like an American news website, I get an ad for something about the Emperor's New Groove. So yeah.
Yep, they are listening. Don't feel too bad about forgetting Ivy. I never would have thought of Maggie or Annie, but they're inspired highlights. It's a shame Maggie didn't appear again, and I think she deserves an honourable mention in the couples episode. Oh, God damn it. We forgot to say Alfred and Maggie.
Well, I think that was a given, okay? Because they are the best couple. The best.
She and Alfred were a fun pair with good chemistry, had more potential than I think they realised, or at least had the runtime for. Yeah, so, yeah, very good.
I agree, definitely. Anything Alfred did.
Next comment comes from Defuxa, who says, thinking about this topic in regards to Static Shock, I'm drawing a blank in regards to women from that show. I realise there's Virgil's sister, but she isn't really covered much. Maybe that Static Shock was too male-centric. Maybe it was. I mean, there was his friend Daisy, who was one of the most intelligent and kind people at his school. And you're right, there was his sister, who I think was called Sharon, and I apologise if I got her name wrong. It's been a long time since I've watched Static Shock, and I've only ever watched it through once. But yeah, there were a couple of female bang babies, but I can never remember what their names were. Which says more about me than the quality of that show. Okay, so new commenter. At least I think you're new. Apologise if you're not. Bat Lagoon. I would like to say that I love this podcast, giving the women of the DCAU their due. I also want to mention that in Justice League Unlimited episode The Balance, it is implied that Hades was Wonder Woman's father, not Ares. Yes, thank you for correcting me on that. If you probably remember from listening to the episode, I couldn't actually remember which god it was. Like, it's the one with the black hair. Was that Ares?
Yes, and you wanted to know something funny. I don't know if you remember this from last week. Just out of nowhere, we were talking about something, and then we got onto this topic, and he was like, it was Hades.
Yeah. And the real clue to his identity was the fact that he was coming out from the underworld. So it was just a dim-witted moment for me, I'm afraid. But Video Crow's Nest returns to say, for the Max segments, I think that mixed up 2 different episodes. In the Curare one, Bruce is out of town and Max is on the phone with Terry during the attack, allowing him to hear the attack taking place. The one where Bruce tells Max to get off the line is the one where the Creeper, martial arts classmate of Terry's, the secret cult leader, becomes infatuated with her and tries to kidnap her. She managed to hold him off long enough to call for help, leading to Bruce to tell Terry to get over there now. Yes, you are right. Clearly, Batman Beyond is not as burnt into my brain as BTAS and Mask of the Phantasm, so sorry about that. I'm only human, and thank you for the very gracious correction.
We will start putting at the beginning, the top of the show, apologies for all of the...
Apologies and corrections. And next one is going to open with... Last time, I talked about the best couples in the DCAU, and all I talked about was misery and despair. I apologise for ruining Valentine's Day.
Oh, God, how could you?
All right, so next comment from Bookworm. Thank you for reading my comment. I also support Meg being invited to the podcast. Her React videos are very insightful. So we haven't actually made any progress on that, have we, Mary? So we probably should pick up on that. As I said earlier, and I think Mary said earlier too, it's been a very busy couple of weeks and things are only getting busier, but I'll try and make the time for it. Okay, so next comment and final comment from another new commenter, Blue Marseilles. I hope that's Blue Marseilles, or maybe it's Blue Marseille. Wish that Batwoman would return, Rocky in particular. Yeah, we didn't mention Batwoman, did we, in our Women of the DCAU? So, good shout out.
Yeah, good shout out. I only have so many thoughts I can store in my head about Batwoman. I do apologize.
Okay, so thanks everyone for listening and for getting through all the comments with us.
So, the next episode is going to be about Catwoman. Catwoman. I have just decided that because I'm looking at Luke's print of the cat and the claw, and I've just said, you know what? I could talk about Catwoman a lot. Mm-hmm. And I will.
So we're just talking about the DCAU Catwoman and her appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how she's affected my life.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful time. And again, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Take care. Have a good week. See you next time. Bye.
Au revoir.